Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
100% independent and internationally renowned artist. She's a DJ, producer, writer, vocalist, and performer. A freaking boss in the industry. Produces her own tracks from start to finish, beats, lyrics, vocals, mixing, and mastering, you name it. This next guest has toured extensively around the world and opened for artists including Tiesto, Deadmau5, Steve Aoki, and Chris Lake, with releases on labels like Insomniac Records and Dirtybird. She's been featured alongside Hardwell and Max Graham on the DJ Mag Canada, the first female DJ in the world to have a mix featured in the infamous Clubkillers Radio Podcast. There's even a wicked documentary out about her called Rock the Box. Today, I'm chatting with Rhiannon Roze. All right, Rhiannon, thank you so much for joining us today. So tell us about your early introduction into the DJ industry. What was your setup like? And how did that style change over the years to what you're playing and making today?
Well, actually, these turntables you see behind me are the first and only turntables I've ever owned. I bought them off eBay, crazy enough. One was from like a pawn shop, and I can't remember where the other one was from. It was risky, but they worked. And my first mixer was like a Behringer mixer or something super cheap. And yeah, I've since updated some of my things, but like I prefer to DJ with Pioneer CDJs now. But I still have my vinyl collection and my turntables, old school style. Yeah.
So tell us about your journey through time with music, because you played like a little bit of different genres of music as you've gone on, hey?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I started underground. I don't even remember like labeling it as anything, but like, you know, it was just what I was drawn to is European dance music, because my parents were from England and we'd go visit family over there, and, you know, dance music was the thing. So I'd collect like CDs and bring them back. And so I guess the first 7-8 years, it was mostly underground vinyl, like house and electro, break beats, a bit of drum and bass. And then I started to get more like out in the scene, and, you know, I had my MySpace page and everything. And, so I started to get more bookings and more offers for slightly more mainstream gigs. And I was like, well, I don't want to say no to a DJ gig. So I just, you know, got my shit together and like learned how to play more commercial stuff. And so now I'm like full on open format, because once I moved to the States in like 2009, 2010, I started getting booked for like hip hop clubs and like all sorts of things. And I was like, this is like a whole new world down here, you know? So it was a little scary, but I got it together, and now I've played all over the world and played all over, you know, all different styles, and I'm comfortable with that now, finally.
Oh my gosh, I love your production. Love like the vocals that you do on a lot of your music as well. So catchy. I want to ask you, when you look back at your career, was there, or maybe there's many memorable lessons that you've learned that have maybe just had like that really huge impact on how you run your business today?
Good question. I mean, there's been so many lessons over the years, and I feel like it's just kind of something that I feel like every artist has to go through. Like, just be in your journey and make your mistakes, and, you know, learn whatever lessons you know, are that come. And I don't know, it's hard because in some ways, I mean, there's been people that have betrayed my trust, for example, yet I would say that the lesson wasn't don't trust people, because, you know, that sucks. Like in life and in business, you just have to trust people. So I'd say that it kind of, for me, it kind of came to an almost like yogic way of looking at things, and that like whatever's going on inside me is going to appear, you know, on the outside of me. And so when I actually took the time to, you know, work on myself, I found that things improved in my business life. So it's very connected.
Oh, I love that. I remember, well, I don't remember who was talking about it, but it was something along the lines of wherever everybody is doing the best that they can, depending on where they are specifically in their life at any one given time. And you know, not only having empathy for people going through that, or just having empathy for ourselves when we're going through those situations. So when you said it was kind of like a yoga a way of looking at it. No, I love that. Oh, in educating oneself, in your opinion, do you feel like that is a really important thing in this scene? You know, from marketing to production and like treating this industry like a business.
Great question. And there's so many facets of, you know, of the industry and of the business. So, you know, for example, with music production, I would say education, yes. As far as like, it doesn't have to be something super formal, but don't just like buy a DAW and like fumble around not knowing what you're doing and then get frustrated and give up. That's what I did. Yeah. In 2010, I bought Ableton and I tried to make a simple mashup, but I didn't know how to warp, of course, because you're not born knowing how to warp. And, you know, and I just got frustrated. I was like, I don't have time for this. And so I just focused on DJing and, you know, and writing, recording lyrics and all that, but not the actual music production. I was quite intimidated to get into it. And it's when I took a beginner Ableton course. It was like a week-long thing, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I could do this, you know. And then I found Matrix Sessions, music production. They do sort of like one-on-one mentoring. I found that program and invested in it, and it was like the best thing I ever did. I have all the tools I need now to do this on my own, you know. So that was very powerful.
Yeah, I remember actually when I was doing research on the things that I wanted to ask you about, seeing you talk a bit about that. And I just thought it was so freaking empowering. I've totally done that too. Like I bought Cubase many, many years back, got super frustrated with it. Yeah. And nobody uses that program. But yeah, educating yourself was so huge. I love... You just said something too. You write your own lyrics. Do you have any tips for people that are writing lyrics for their tracks?
Question. I feel like, because I've always been into creative writing, even since I was a kid, I'd write like poems, and like I actually got excited about writing essays at school. Nerd. But it was my jam. So for me, so I'd say, okay, so yeah, it comes naturally to me. It's something I love doing. But that doesn't mean that I don't struggle sometimes too. Sometimes things just flow out and I'm like, oh my God, give me a pen. And other times I'm like, huh, you know, and it can feel like a puzzle, or maybe I get like a couple lines that I'm like, like what's the next one or whatever. And I find that if you get really like stuck into something, and this could apply to music production too, take a step back and do something completely different. Go to the fridge, get a drink, like, you know, anything, like just to like stop and then go back to it, and it'll feel more fresh. And also when it comes to lyric writing, I mean, if you get stuck, go back to your story. Be like, okay, not just like, oh, what rhymes with what? Like, be like, what is the story or the feeling? Like, what are you trying to communicate? And make sure there is one, because you might come up with a cool line, but then be like, oh, where did that come from? And what story is or could be connected to this, and then you can, you know, build on it. Or even like, remember the mind maps when you were kids? You like write a word and circle it, and then write, you know, words that match it. Like, you know, like simple stuff like that. It works.
Oh, I like that. I know back in the day trying to write lyrics, I could not do it when I was in a good mood. I could only do it like after a breakup where I was like feeling very angry. I came up with like the most hilarious things or like the emotional stuff.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. One of the tracks that like pop up in my head is Watch Me, the Franklin Watts collaboration that you did. I was just like,
yay.
going down the street, singing along.
Yeah, that I feel like that one kind of came to me a bit randomly. Like Frank said, he's like, oh, kind of looking for something like, it'd be dope to do something almost like that, like milkshake track. And I'm like, oh, I got you. It just, and there's that, like, and I'm kind of like giving away that secret, but it's not as if it was like, oh, like it's like a ripoff. It's like different vibe, different lyrics, everything. But it just had that kind of like swag to it, like, yeah, like girl feeling herself and on the dance floor, like, yeah. So yeah.
Now everybody's gonna be like, what? I gotta go track down. So you are a freaking boss. Like you sing, you write, you produce, you like, if I remember correctly, you mix and master as well. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about your workflow in the studio and what collabs with other artists look like for you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a lot and it is a lot. And I find that the way I pace myself is to basically do whatever I feel like doing in any given moment. I mean, if I have a deadline, I got to go, I got to get into that, but that's okay too, because that pressure can kind of like be like, okay, like, let's go dive in. But otherwise I don't I don't know. I kind of will just be like, if I feel like writing lyrics, I do that. If I feel like producing, I do that. If I feel like going back to some old track and like fine tuning the mix, I'll do that. I'll keep going, rolling with what I feel. And I'm like doing it all day, every day. But so, and that's the compensation for myself. Cause I'm like, everyone's like, oh, it's so cool. Like working for yourself. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of an asshole boss. I never give myself breaks. I'm like working every day. Like, but at the same time, I can like choose what I do when I do it, Yeah.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying before about like taking a break from the thing that you're doing and go do something else. Because like if you're writing lyrics or then you're working on music or doing whatever else, you're like giving yourself those breaks, but you're still working.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it just eventually it adds up. Yeah. Yeah. And as far as collaborations go, I mean, typically, like, say if like a producer sends me a track and is like, hey, I want like lyrics and vocals for this, I mean, it's mostly so far just been done via email. It's like everyone's busy. Not everyone has time for like a full studio session. And, they're essentially trusting me. They're like, hey, you say you're a writer and a vocalist, so here you go, and I'll just jam out and do my thing. And then I have a little do-it-yourself vocal booth at home that I padded out a closet. So I'll record, send them a little demo, tweak it if they want something changed, and just, it just goes back and forth like that. Like I did that, with a few artists, and so far it's working out. I think being in a studio session with a producer is fun too, because then you're kind of like, you can joke around and talk about other things and maybe come up with fresh ideas just, organically. But kind of down with either.
I like it. So what advice would you give to minority groups struggling to find representation in their niche? And how do you think we can create those spaces for ourselves and others?
Good question. I feel like, if we had a solid answer to this, I feel like things would be a little different, but it's okay. I think that collaboration is key, and really being yourself and being tenacious, and just know thyself. It really is the key to so much, because if you know yourself, you know what you're bringing to the table, so you can collaborate, with others. You have a lot to offer just by being yourself, and you can make other people understand like what you have to offer, and instead of them, other people might have like assumptions about what you can or can't do. But if you know yourself, you can suggest things, you can bring things to the table, and but yeah, I feel like the collaboration, it's important for people to have, friends and colleagues that they work with, and like, hey, women, for example, like, everyone talks about, the industry being like a boys club or whatever. And I'm like, well, let's get this girls club going. And not that it's like a this or that, but it's like, hey, if there is a boys club, then there should be a girls club, and just knowing that there is enough to go around, because there's, thousands of, clubs and venues and festivals going on all around the world. Like there are the DJ gigs, and it's not that, women are competing for DJ gigs, because there's only so many for us. It's like, if anything, I hope, and I think that more doors are opening, for us, and people are under more pressure to even up, like the lineups on festivals and at shows and such. So I think the more we support each other, the more we can all like really like, grow and blow up and be more just known for what we do.
I don't think I've ever heard somebody mention that, though, like collaborations being a really great way to like create those spaces for ourselves and others. That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are listening right now. Collabs.
Well, I'm also saying this to myself, because I find that like I people are like, oh wow, like, all the stuff you're doing, and you must, be so social and be out and around people all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of like in my pajamas sitting at my desk every day working, and then I put it out there, for everyone to see, which is cool. But I'm almost saying that to remind myself, like, yeah, I do need to get out there and collaborate, be more proactive about collaborating with other women, and showing up, and just knowing that that's how we can, help each other, promote one another, collaborate, show that, even on the producing side of it, like I haven't done that yet, like collaborated with another producer on a track, but I've been talking about it with some female colleagues that go to Matrix. So yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Maybe some female producers that are watching will hit you up. So you're one of the hardest working artists that I know, and clearly you are making it work for you. A lot of DJs say there's not a lot of money to make in this scene. Would you have anything to say to them about finding different revenue streams in this business, and maybe an example of how you've done this for yourself?
Good question, because it is kind of tough. I wish I could be like, oh no, it's cool. Like, that has been a struggle. And I'd say stay humble and start small, and be willing to build slowly. That is really key, because hey, if you have to work, some other full-time or part-time job to support this, like that's okay. And just, coffee and tea is your friend, and there's gonna be long days, but if you love this, you will find the energy to do this, and that I'd say it's smart to not be like, okay, that's it, I'm gonna be a full-time DJ from starting now, and then if your ducks aren't in a row and you're kind of like, oh shit, like struggling to pay rent, and then maybe you get desperate for certain gigs, you're willing to do things for less money, or taking gigs with people that are maybe a little sketchy, or like not necessarily like safe circumstances. I mean, I did this. I was pretty lucky. Like I've traveled, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I remember, going to all these countries all by myself, went to Colombia and like Suriname, and like just random places I'd never been before. And I went by myself, and I mean, anything could have happened. Technically, it's like, people booking you through MySpace and stuff. It's like, there's, I got lucky, and I haven't had any really negative experiences traveling. I've never felt like unsafe, but it's not to say that couldn't happen. And it's important, I think, to, have a way to financially support yourself and do this on the side and just keep growing it. And then when something happens and it feels like, okay, like I think I'm ready to shift over to this, because then do it. But just, take it slow, be realistic. I mean, yes, there's the whole like visualize and go for it and you can do it. Yes, absolutely. Manifest whatever you want. Just, be humble in the beginning. Well, always, and just grow slowly. Yeah.
Longevity.
Yeah.
You said something that really stood out to me too. Like the thing about not just like switching over if you're not completely financially ready for it, because I've totally done that myself. And like even the somewhat sketchy traveling situations where you're like, wow, that was close. So maybe like women just tend to experience this more than men. But yeah, I have stories. Any last thoughts, upcoming projects, music, or events you'd like people to know about?
Well, I guess I never got to mention that I'm working with BPM Supreme, which is a record pool that I love. And so of course I want to tell you about it because they invited me on board and I was like, I had no idea your platform was like this amazing. Like once they're like, oh, come, work with us, be an ambassador. We'd love to get your input on some things. And, I've been doing music curating. So I'm like curating DJ sets for them and been involved with some events. And they're just really great people and they're really determined and they're growing and they're like sparing no expense at like making things really awesome for DJs and producers. So I would say check them out, bpmsupreme.com if you haven't already, if you're not already aware of them. And I just released a new track called Lemonade Quench, which is very intense, as am I. It's one of my favorite songs to perform live at my shows. And that's kind of like what I'm going for. Like that's what I would love to be known for, is like the DJ girl with great energy who like DJs, but then she'll like hop on stage, grab the mic and like perform, some songs. Like I love doing that. It's so fun to like engage with the crowd that way. And so that's my plan, is just release a new track every few months. And of course the music videos to go along with them, and just do my thing and balance and stay sane and healthy at the same time.
Yeah, I love that track. It is bonkers. And that's so cool about BPM Supreme. Like it seems like a very convenient program to use as well if you don't have tons of time to be looking for music right before a gig. Like you're just good to go, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like myself and other set curators are helping you guys in that way, because we are combing through the site, finding like, the best tracks within certain genres and then putting them into like curated sets. So if you suddenly a gig came up and you're like, oh, like, okay, I took this gig, but I've never done anything like this before, or they want more tech house than this or that, whatever it is, you can go to the curated sets and be like in a second, like download like tracks that have been selected by other DJs like me, and are like, okay, like we got you, like these are hot, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so rad. I love it. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. You had so many amazing things to say. For the rest of y'all that are tuned into the episode, was there something that resonated with you? Maybe you have been considering quitting your day job and now you're like, maybe I'll just wait a little longer. Maybe I'll take some schooling and learn more on my DAW. Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't let no one kill your vibe.